All right, hello and welcome. My name is Cassandra, and I am here today because I'm really excited about something. I will get a little bit of background into about myself later, but I am about to be presenting a training at a hackathon next week. And so as I'm building out the training deck, I wanted to come on here and share it with you because as a software developer, as a program manager, as a community manager, I've had a lot of different hats, and a lot of times I found that when it comes to creating your scope and designing requirements for your the software that you're creating, oftentimes people do not plan enough to make sure that they have what they need to be successful, and so then they waste time, they waste money, they waste emotions trying to accomplish something that may not be what was originally asked for in the first place. Or maybe there's not really a good way of communicating between what the customer is asking for and what the developers are trying to deliver. Or maybe it's just not really clear, and we think that we're clear, but without certain things like what I'm about to share with you today, you can find a lot of issues and opportunity for growth with which to share that. So I want to share with you one of the things that I'm sharing next week that I am going through and learning as I'm continuing my own education. So that way, not only can I support my day job and the teams with which I work there, but also my students and my clients. So that way, they have a more richer experience when they are working with the companies that they work for, whether they're freelancing, whatever the case may be. So I want to share with you a little bit about that. Like I said, I am going to be sharing it at a hackathon next week as I'm being an advisor for it. But I'm also sharing this with my students, my mentoring students. So if you like what you see today, if you would like to learn how you can work with me and receive my coaching and my guidance, then please reach out, let me know, and we can connect and see if my opportunity for mentorship is for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and swap screens here. So this is the part of the training that I've done. So, the topic of today's training is building blocks of success, context diagrams, context diagrams and scope definition. So, what exactly does that mean? Well, as I mentioned, I was going to talk a little bit about myself. So, my name is Cassandra. I am passionate. Can't see me because of the video there, but I'm passionate about empowering people for success, and that is by basically taking the tech things down and breaking them into bite-sized pieces. So I will move my little face so you can see. There we go. So you can see my LinkedIn if you're checking this out from someplace else, but that is how you can get in contact with me. So, like I said, I'm a developer advocate. I'm a program manager. I've also recently received my credential from Duke as a strategic execution professional. And I have also been certified in design sprint facilitation through AJ and Smart. So, what does this mean? Again, I have found that through things like workshop facilitation and defining your scope and doing a little bit of the prep work beforehand before trying to dive into touching any work, that has been so helpful for myself and the people that I collaborate with. So, what are we going to cover today? Well, first of all, an introduction to the training. And then I'm going to also cover just one part of the scoping pieces, which is the context diagram. From there's a few others that are included, but will not be in today's training, but will be part of the one that I'm giving next week. And then I'll give you some of my lessons learned and resources for that. Speaking of resources, if you do like what you see today and you would like to check out these resources, because this deck is going to be something that I give to my students. But if you are not a student but would still like some of the resources, definitely check out prosperousheart.com systems dash design. This is going to be the website where I'm going to put this live up there. I'm going to put any resources about it, and any additional trainings that I give on this topic will go to that blog post. Okay, so continuing on. So, introduction to the training. So, this information comes from what I'm learning in the defining scope class through the eCornell Systems Design Certification course. It's being taught by a gentleman named David R. Schneider. As you can see here, he has a lot of really cool stuff going on that he has had experience in working with NASA and other stuff. And what he has been sharing is a standard in the industry, and he's in engineering and all that good stuff. Um, Also, which you can't see here, but basically the proof of concept for this class that I went through the diagrams for is actually a solution that I'm looking for, and I have personal experience, intimate knowledge of, that I decided to use um, with this class. So what exactly was the problem to solve? Well, first of all, I am part of a local community garden where we grow food to feed local food pantries. In fact, I'm pretty sure at least 75%, if not more, of everything that we grow goes to local food pantries. And so in our community garden, we have lots of different roles. We have people who are not official gardeners, but still supporters. We have different chores and teams, and we basically are a little bit of old school in to some degree, in that, and I'll just move this up here, in that we use a Google Drive for documentation and a Google group for email, and email can get lost, right? So it can just be kind of difficult to navigate, especially for new people. So the problem description is that we need a simple solution that allows for easy gardening planning, as well as a secure system to collaborate on needs within the community. And as I thought about this more and more, I wanted to make it open source, and I wanted to make it something that other communities could use as well. So that is the problem for that I am attempting to resolve through these classes. One of the problems I'm attempting to resolve through these classes. So after that, end user avatar. So as you can see here, this is basically the people within my community. That last line basically says is on a team or chore within their community garden. But basically, again, these are different aspects about the people that I collaborate with in this volunteer activity. And by keeping an end user avatar in line, by keeping an idea of who the person is that you are trying to support, this is going to allow you to really make sure that you are keeping their considerations forefront in your mind. Because if you are creating a solution that doesn't actually address their issues, then you might have a really cool product that nobody ever uses. All right. So the scoping pieces. Again, I'm only going to cover one piece in today's training, and that is context diagrams. So I'm going to talk about what they are and show you a few of the examples with which I've made. So what exactly is a context diagram? It's basically used to help you explore various interactions within your system, and through those connections, determine how things should be worked with amongst those interactions. So first things first is you create a white box with the system or something similar. You don't want to call it like the car or what the case may be, because if your end user describes a transportation device, that needs to fly, most cars these days don't fly. And so if you already say the car, then your brain is already going to lock in the expectation of I am designing for a car, where what the end user might need is actually a plane or a boat or something like that. So the system then has a dash line around it, and this is your boundary. So everything inside of your boundary, the system has control over. It can, make changes to. Everything outside the boundary is outside of that control. The third thing is to add 8 to 20 elements outside of your dash box that are either something the system interacts with or something that interacts with the system. And so these could be your stakeholders. This could be an API that you need to know about. Maybe it's a database. And then once you've done that, you're then going to add a solid line between the system and any of the elements that were around the outside of that box. What that might look like is something like this. So you'll see that there's a solid line between the element boxes, and I'll show you an example in a second. So this is a template that I have inside of Miro. That way you have just kind of some default connections already made to your system. Feel free to make your own, super easy in Miro. Last but not least, at least on this particular piece, is that if the interaction gets too long, you can bring them down into a legend. So what that legend might look like is something like this. So where the A and B are, that indicates that side of the boundary line. And you can see that A is an outside element going in, and it is an interaction one, comma, interaction two. So it could have 20 interactions, but if it got too cluttered on that line, you'd put it down into that legend down below. So once you do that and you've got everything up, you'll review for refinement, add anything that's missing. You'll connect with your stakeholders because you should be connecting with them at so many different places than they probably are being connected with at this moment. But you want to connect with them, make sure that they confirm the interactions in the context diagrams. And then number 8, you're going to leverage this diagram to ensure completion of your use case list, which again, I will not go over today, but I will be bringing that around probably soon because my training is next week. But I'm kidding. Okay, so here is an example of a diagram. I'm not going to zoom in and out because this is already a little bit longer than I intended to because I'm not even halfway. Well, I guess I am more than halfway done. But this is a diagram of the general needs of my solution. If you could see it from your screen, which you might be able to depending upon your size, you'll see that there's different USDA zones, gardeners new and old. We've got volunteer developers because they are included in the system. They're the ones that are going to support this open source solution, your browser, backend database, and there's also even a community gardeners section, which then leads to this one. So, so there are 2 context diagrams for my solution. One is the main general user context diagram and the elements that it interacts with. This is the subsystem of a community garden, which has things like your city admin or whoever your main person who would be leading your community garden, your apprentices, mentorship team, your different, just the different teams and chores that you might have going on inside of this. So those are context diagrams. Again, there are use case lists, use case diagrams, and even a deliverable tree, which I am going to be covering next week in that training session for the hackathon. But I'm also going to be giving you little bits of snippets here and there to kind of show you what it's about, but also just to show you, hey, here's what I'm sharing with my students. And if it's something that interests you, then maybe you will want to join my coaching program. All right, so lessons learned. Some of these may not make sense because I did not go over everything today. But basically, the first is that just as in programming, there are guidelines to ensure that everybody can read and understand what you've got going on. But there's no one way, no one right way to do anything or to complete the process. So as long as everybody agrees on what the colors are and the diagrams mean and all that, you're good to go. Something else that I learned about this whole process, not just the context diagrams, was that you know as you go through this, you may get greater insight on additional use cases that you may have not thought about. You may have found that there were things that you included that maybe either are not as important as you thought, or maybe they actually were part of a different subset of the system than you originally planned. Also, in this process, they cover some. This is only the first class of the certification process, but there are some things that weren't included, like the date that you last updated your diagram, which I feel is important because if you're looking at a diagram that's 5 years old and lots of changes have happened, then you don't know how old or accurate that diagram is. So I would say to add one. Again, check with your team and confirm that everybody's good with it. But that was something that should be added. And then just a couple of other things on here on like how to do the diagrams and things like that. But again, as long as everybody's on the same page, it's perfectly fine. So some resources. And again, if you go to this website right here, processheart.com/systems dash design, you'll get all of these links that you can check out at a later time. So I've provided a link to Miro Academy. So Miro Academy is where you can go and get certified through Miro. They have different certifications. And I really highly suggest at least the first one because it gives a very wide range of how to use their product. And it is one of my ultimate favorite tools. So Bureau Academy gives you that. If you are in certain companies, they may also allow you to show your badge on like their local directory or something, so you can show that off there. You can also show it off through Credly on your LinkedIn site, and I'm sure other places as well. So that second link on Miro is about my blog post on why I love Miro and as well as some templates. Then, of course, if you're interested in the eCornell classes, those links are there as well. I have a tutorial that you can check out. It's not mine um, on UML use case diagram, which is used in these deliverable trees, which I did not cover today. And then there's a whole slew of blog posts that I've done that might support you in your journey for workshop facilitation, planning, strategy, things like that. So that is the resources page. And then, like I said, so we cover the introduction to the problem, one of the pieces, lessons learned, and that's it. So I do not currently see any questions in chats. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Cassandra, aka the Prosperous Heart, and I'm so excited to share this with you today. If you found value in it, please do give this a thumbs up, um, sprinkle it amongst your friends and family, and let me know what your favorite part was for today. And if you're going to start using some of this information in your own planning purposes. Like I said, I think this is awesome. I think this is something that I'm going to be able to leverage in projects big or small. So I'm very excited to not only grow in it for myself and the people that I work with in my day job, but also for my students, my clients, and everything else like that. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.